Well, tonight on the podcast, ladies and gentlemen, we got really some interesting information, things that we already kind of knew, but we couldn't really put our finger on it. So Reuters came out with an article exposing a lot of people in the government who has ties to slavery. So they are descendants of slave masters. Now, we always talking about reparations, and we saw the importance of why we saying lineage-based reparations, because you saw what the Supreme Court did the other day when you base it in race. This is why we cannot fall for people saying make it about race, make it about race. And hey, since I'm black, I should be able to get it. We talking about people that just came here yesterday, didn't suffer what we suffered in this nation, right? But it has to be lineage-based completely. Well, you have a lot of people who in government that is against reparations. You're going to see some of the faces and you're going to understand why they're against it, because they're directly tied to it. So let's go ahead and look at that. As you see here, as like always, we want to build our case before we start talking about anything. So this was posted by Reuters, a file, they say on June 27, 2023. Now, this explores, they said they found 118 of America's most influential leaders have a slave holding ancestor. It's to explore information about their forebears and the people they enslaved. So as we scroll down here, you can read all that. Of course, we know a lot of them have generational wealth, but they broke a lot of this down. And let's start here, right? So if you look at right here, Marsha Blackburn, right? It go through all of them. Now, look, Miss Elizabeth Warren here. You remember when she said, when she was running for president and they were talking about reparations, she said, reparations for what? Well, yeah, I understand why you said reparations for what, Elizabeth, because you are a descendant of a slave master. Her direct ancestor was John Crawford, enslaved 14 people. She's 5 generations removed. And they kept all the slave records here. So when they talk about they can't trace our lineage, can't trace. Oh, no, these people kept detailed records on who they was enslaving. Now, Elizabeth Warren, you should be the biggest advocate of reparations, because since your family had a direct hand in enslaving black people, your wealth that you got, and the reason why you're in this position is because of the generational wealth you receive from chattel slavery. Well, let's go back up to the top here. And we can click on any one of them, but I just want to just run through their names. Roy Blunt, he's another one. John Boozman. These are active sitting senators. Richard Burr. All these people you see, look at this. John Cornyn from Texas. Click on him. And his direct ancestor, Nathaniel Townsend, enslaved 2 people. He didn't say anything. Tom Cotton, that's another one, is always being anti-black. But look, his descendant enslaved 6 people. Let's go back up to the top. Those prominent people that we see. Of course, we always knew about old Mitch McConnell as well. And look, Tammy Duckworth. She has some links to slavery. Henry Coe, 4 people was enslaved. She said she wasn't aware that her ancestors enslaved people, and adding that is gut-wrenching to learn, but did not surprise her. She said, I think it's a disservice to our nation and our history to walk away from this. If I'm going to claim and be proud that I'm a daughter of an American revolution, then I have to acknowledge that I'm a daughter of people who enslave other people. And if we're going to do better as a country and we're going to grow as a country, then we have to acknowledge that and learn from it. Otherwise, we wouldn't be America. Of course, detailed records of people that was bought, as you can see, what they were paying for the slaves, $400 here, another $400, $200. Oh, yeah, detailed records are still out there. Okay. Lindsey Graham, he's another one, right? He's always got his mouth running. And you can see clearly all these ancestors here that was bought by his ancestor, Joseph Maddox, enslaved 8 people. Let's go back up here. You have who else we have noticed on here? This guy here, Senator Kennedy. He is a very, very vile anti-black racist. Well, I mean, can you see why? I mean, Nathan Calhoun, boy, that name was always tied to some slavery. He enslaved his ancestors enslaved 65 people. 65, okay? He has generational wealth that came to him because of this. And these are the people that don't want us to have reparations. Well, yeah, because they directly tied to it. They're not like so far removed from it. Look, 5 generations, that's not that long ago. And these are the records of his people. We can keep going. Of course, we heard about Mitch McConnell, so I'm not going to go into that. We covered that a while back. You remember that Cindy Hyde Smith from Mississippi? Well, she was talking about hanging black people, you know, at that time on the campaign trail. Well, there you go. Her people enslaved 13. Allison Brister, a woman. Now, yes, you had white women who were slave owners. Read the book, They Were Her Property. As we can keep going here, representatives, you know, as you can see a lot of them in here. I mean, we could take our time going through it. But you see presidents, Biden, Bush, Carter, Clinton, and Obama. Well, you know, it's definitely not from his father's side. We know that. Supreme Court justices, Amy Coney Barrett and Neil Gorsuch. And then you have a lot of governors up here. Andy Beshear. So we look at that. John Bel Edwards of Louisiana. That's a Democrat. Asa Hutchinson, a lot of Republicans in here. Brian Kemp's another Republican. Bill Lee. Henry McMaster. You know, I mean, so what we'll do here is we can definitely take our time to go through here. I'm not going to go through all of them. It's going to be a little time, but let's get to this. Let's focus on the presidents. All right, Joe Biden. Thomas Randall, enslaved 1. So your current president is a descendant of a slave master. George W. Bush, Peter Foree, enslaved 25 people. Another descendant of a slave master. Jimmy Carter, James Carter, enslaved 54 people. And look at that, property for Negroes. I said Dick was $250. Lottie, and child, $275. Bob, Bill, as you can see here, Millie, Susan, Mary. I mean, these are all slaves that was on the plantation with Jimmy Carter's descendants. I mean, look at that. That is something. And you wonder why these people can afford to go to Yale. You wonder why these people can afford to go to Harvard and all that. Well, they come from slave money. I told y'all that old slave money is definitely in existence, right? So you got Bill Clinton, of course, his family, they say, owned 1 slave. Barack Obama, George W. Overall, owned 2 slaves. So you would think that Barack Obama would be the biggest champion for the black community because he has connection to slavery. But nope, he was not the champion. He was a champion of trying to please the white supremacists. During his presidency, he was sick. Amy Coney Barrett, her people, Joel J. Coney, owned 21 slaves. Neil Gorsuch, Nicholas Gorsuch owned 1. Now you're talking about going through your governors. The governor of Kentucky. As you can see some of the records here. Doug Burgum, Roy Cooper, the governor of North Carolina. Yes, your governor was a descendant of a slave master. Of course, you know, John Bell, we talked about him earlier. Asa Hutchinson, he's a former governor of Arkansas. Kay Ivey, governor of Alabama. And you can see here, Ann N. Riley enslaved 33 people, and you can see all the records of that. All the money they were paying. And listen, back then, $1,000 was a lot of money back then. A lot of money. So she's attached to generational wealth. That's what she's attached to. Brian Kemp, look at that. 56 people was enslaved to his ancestor. Governor of Tennessee, 4 people. Henry McMaster, governor of South Carolina, where some of you brothers and sisters live, 4. Michael Parson, governor of Missouri, 6. And Glenn Youngkin, the governor of Virginia, 1. Now, of course, we were showing you all this because this is very important. And let's get into the meat of what we want to talk about here. So some of you probably seen your senator or congressperson. Some of you probably seen your governor. We all seen your current president on there, a descendant of a slave master. We seen your former president, Obama, descendant of a slave master. Makes sense why he didn't want to do nothing for black folk. Is because he's not attached to the soil. He's not one of us. He's not. His father was Kenyan. He wasn't from our lineage. So it makes sense to why he was doing some of the things he was doing, why he was just lecturing us and talking down on us as a people. He wanted to make sure to suck up to his, slave master ancestors that's up there, in government. You saw that during his whole presidency. Now, the interesting part is Biden is always calling Trump racist and Obama, but yet Trump is not a descendant of a slave master. That part just really dawned on me a lot, right? But when we look at black community and we talk about all the generational wealth that was stolen from black people, the millions and millions of acres of land that was stolen from black people, we talking about after slavery through eminent domain, which is you never really could own property in the United States. Let's think about it. You say, okay, I bought my property, I paid my house off, I paid my land off, and then they could come up to you even today and say, oh, we need that because we want an oil pipeline to go through there. Or we want to lay down a railroad, or we need it for a government project, or whatever we need it for. Eminent domain. I'm just going to take your land. We give you what we think it's worth, but that's it. It don't matter if it's been in your family for hundreds and hundreds of years, like the sister out there that's fighting right now with this corporation that want to take her land from her. It's been in her family since the Civil War. And this corporation wants to take it and do everything they can to try to get her off of her land. That's nothing new, because when we covered the story the other day about Cancer Alley and what the corporation was saying, hey, we know black people are the least protected and nobody's going to do nothing to help them. This is why we pick on them. This is why we can do the things that we do to them. But these senators, these Congress people, your Supreme Court justices, governors, all these people, it makes sense why they are wealthy. It makes sense because generational wealth came off of the backs of our ancestors. These same people today, like that John Kennedy guy that we pointed out earlier, he be the main one telling you need to work hard, but he haven't worked hard a day in his life because his ancestor had slaves. Everything was literally given to him. All those people that was up there. Some people you say, oh, it makes sense. Yeah, the way they act. And then some people be like, wow, they on there? Yeah. It goes so deep with that old slave money, ladies and gentlemen, that it will amaze you. And when they try to tell you, oh, well, see, if you do lineage-based reparations, well, how you going to find the record? They kept detailed records, as you saw earlier, with the names of slaves and how much they paid for them. So yes, lineage-based reparations is the way to go. But see, what we should do with this information is that we should call out every last one of them as being a descendant of a slave master, and the only way to make up the right of the sin of their family. See, you got to make it personal. See, when you say the sin of America, no. You have to say, Joe Biden, the sin of your family. Your family has caused the sin of this country. And what you should do as president is clean up the mess that your family had going with slavery. You could clean it up and you could be hailed as one of the greatest presidents that America ever had if you would do lineage-based reparations. You understand? You got Amy Coney Barrett. You have Neil Gorsuch. Every time they talk now, I'm thinking in the back of my mind, oh, they just a descendant of a slave master. So no wonder they gonna rule a certain way. Like it just lets you, because the apple don't fall too far from the tree with these white supremacists. It don't. And even the other so-called black president, if you listen to the way he talked to black folk, if you listen to how he do the runaround in his words and all of that, trying to sound like a lawyer and talking to people like they're stupid, he's using white supremacist tactics too, because he's a descendant of a slave master. Because you have to understand, with Barack Obama, he don't see the white supremacists like me and you see him. You have to understand, he was reared by a white woman. His grandmother was a white woman. So he has a love for those people. You understand? Versus us, we have been suffering with the white supremacists. So when we look at them in the context of what they done to us. And trust me, not just Barack Obama, but if you start deep diving into the CEOs of these major corporations, if you start looking at your mayors, you start looking at the people in the police department, that's how deep this thing goes. They are all complicit in slavery. This is why they don't mind the prison industrial complex, because that's in their history, that's in their lineage to be slave masters. You understand? And if they're not slave masters, the rest of the white supremacists is in agreement with slavery. That's why it don't matter what the police do to a black person, they always find an excuse why it's okay. Because they feel that black people should be treated any kind of way. They always make an excuse for the race soldier, if you notice that. It don't matter if they're Democrat or Republican. They make an excuse for the race soldier. They want to make sure the race soldiers are funded. Don't matter what side. They do nothing for black people. Don't matter what side. Because they have this slave master mentality, because they are descendants of slave masters. So this is why we always got a beef. Our beef is continuing. We don't have a relationship with the white supremacists where we can get along and make bygones be bygones. We never can do that until they make it right with slavery. We can't just forget about it. You can't forget about something that you never made right. Now, they will say today, well, Joe Biden didn't own a slave, but he benefited from it. His lineage has benefited from slavery. You understand? Bill Clinton's lineage benefited from slavery. So they have to make it right, or we can never get along. But be honest with you, they really don't want to get along with black people. You know, they try to tolerate black people because of what they make, the money they make off of us and all the things that, you know, we still give them to this day, right? But they don't like us like that. And they have taught the world to have a hatred for the black man and woman of America. Because you can go to a lot of countries and they all got these mindsets and stereotypes about black people, and we never even been around them. Some of these societies are homogenous. And because of them, that's why people be thinking certain ways. Remember, they control the media. They control all that, the white supremacists. And look at all the images that is put out. Since all these images are constantly put out, they fund degeneracy in our community. And yes, you know, we got our people participating in it too. You know, like the BET Awards crap that we saw the other day. Those images, like I said, for me, looking at those images made black American women look so bad globally. Y'all don't even know it. Like those of you who don't travel, you may don't care. But if you travel, that's going to precede you before you even hit immigration. Even if you go to Africa, those images a lot of times going to precede you. And then don't let you dress like some of these people that's dressing. We have to keep focusing on reparations. We have to keep focusing on lineage-based reparations. It's very, very important because we can, you know, when they say, why don't they let things go? Why don't they do it? Like say, no, we cannot ever let it go. We never can let it go. We never could really get along on anything until you make it right. Just like you made it right with the Japanese, just like you made it right with the Native American, you made it right with all these different groups of people. Well, you got to make it right with Black Americans. That's why when you get this kind of information, see, you know, what you need to do is now you got this information, what you say, you know what? Let's say those people campaigning or whatever, and just bring up that information and say, well, you know, you're a descendant of a slave owner. Your family had X amount of slaves. So why aren't you supporting reparations so you can make right what your family done to Black Americans? Because your family enslaved Black people. See, when you start hitting them with that information, when they out there doing fundraisers, when they out there on a campaign trail, and you start hitting them on that information, boy, it's gonna put them they're gonna feel a certain way about that. Well, I didn't enslave anybody. No, you're right. You didn't enslave anybody. But you benefiting off of, look at how much money it costs to run for political office. Where y'all that money come from? Well, how you get your money? It comes from slavery. My parents worked hard. No, they didn't. And the reason why I say they don't work hard, because you badly got to work in this country, being a white supremacist, and you'll get ahead more than a Black person with a freaking doctorate degree. You could have no education, and a Black person have a doctorate degree, and you'll still get ahead of them. So no, I don't believe you work hard for nothing. Work hard, what you mean, your legacy admission that you got? The affirmative action for you? What you mean, your donor admission that you got to Yale? How's that working hard? You didn't have to earn anything. You didn't have to do nothing by merit. You know, you get in on legacy admissions and merit and talking about merit. That's the craziest thing ever. But we know how the white supremacists are. You know, it's for thee and not for you. It's just that simple with them. But you should hit these people with that information about their past. One thing they can't stand is knowing about their past. They hate that. That John Kennedy guy, that white supremacist himself, hit him with this. Say, well, yeah, the reason why you feel this way about Black people is because you're a freaking descendant of a slave owner. That's why. So it doesn't surprise me what you saying. We know you hate Black people. So y'all got to tell them that. Y'all got to hit them like that. And they gonna get so defensive, but you got to keep putting it on them. Anytime they speaking ill against Black people, I told y'all, you tell them, oh yeah, I know you hate Black people. It don't matter what group it is. Just tell them, I know you hate Black people. I hear it in your voice. I see it on your face. Listen, I am an expert in knowing if people hate me or not. I know you hate Black people. I know you're only doing that because I'm Black. I know. Trust me. When you tell these people that, and a lot of times they can't worm their way out of it. Oh, here you go. You're trying to be woke. Yeah, you only saying that as a derogatory term because you don't like Black people. That's why you're saying that. Because you would not give an answer to nothing I said. You just have a hatred of Black people. It's just that simple. And that's why we're going to stay on you like white on rice about our reparations. Is because you got a bag off of the back of our ancestors, then you need to make it right. It's just that simple. We're seeing these immigrants coming in from China, and I'm noticing that because I wanted to know what group was pushing that a little more. And from my research, I'm seeing it's more Chinese immigrants that's pushing this anti-affirmative action, unraveling policies for Black people, because I've been looking at the names that's really been pushing it. I've been looking at the complaints by people, and I've been just really looking into it, and I'm noticing a pattern that it's not your Filipinos. I don't really see your Thai people doing it. It's a lot of Chinese that's doing that. And I said, that's quite interesting. I said, because a lot of Chinese are in the African continent. They're there. But when you come over here to America, you're trying to hurt Black people. But in the African continent, they treat you nothing but nice. You understand what I'm saying? See, that's an issue, and that's a problem that we gonna have to address, because we can't just call them Asian. Just like, you know, y'all talk about delineation in the Black world. Everybody, you know, we Black American, this person's from Guyana, this person, okay, fine. Well, we can't just say Asian. We gotta know where they from. We got to always ask that question to them, too. Where you from? We can't just do a blanket Asian. We need to know where these people are from and address them based on that. Because they can't be coming over here unraveling things. Now, I don't mind, like I said last night, I don't mind affirmative action going away in college admissions because it wasn't helping us no way. And it's going to hurt them. But what I do mind is these same people that came in our community putting up their Chinese food restaurants, putting up their illicit massage parlors all over the place. They doing all this mess, getting away with criminality. Pookie and Ray Ray can't even get away with nothing like that. I said this before. Black folks couldn't have no freaking massage parlors where we trafficking women from the African continent, trafficking women from the Caribbean, and having them working in these illicit massage parlors. But yeah, they traffic their own people from their homeland that want to come over here to have a better life or so, and they put them into some tricking. And then also, you want to talk about that, you say, oh, they're so smart. Well, you can't be that smart if the white supremacists could con you like that and make you and screw you over. You can't be that smart. But also, we know about the cheating scandals they're a part of. These big cheating farms. They a lot of even college professors talk about all the cheating that they do in school. But you say they the smartest people. Are you really smart, or are you cheated your way in? Because they constantly talk. You remember that big scandal they had with the cheating before in California? Everybody was cheating. Black folks have to get into college and everything else by merit. Trust me. Or color don't get us in. But when it comes to this information that you have about these slave, owning descendants, we need to start approaching them about this. We need to start asking President Biden. You talk about a study for reparations. Well, it wasn't a study when your ancestor had enslaved black people. You didn't do a study for that. You didn't do a study to get that money from slavery. So let's go ahead and start talking about lineage-based reparations. Let's go ahead and get that done. It's just that simple. These people, saying they don't want to pay. Well, like I said, this is going to be beef until you pay. I tell you that right now. And the beef is going to get worse and worse and worse. And it should, because black folks are in dire straits right now. Black folks are at their wits' end, and black folks need to be made whole. And y'all the ones that need to do that, since you put us in this situation. Or even globally, the white supremacists that put other black folks in the situation. But y'all let me know what y'all think about, this information that you got here. I'll try to leave a link to this in the pinned comment below. That way you making content. Hey, go look at that and make content about this. Everybody needs to make content about this, that you have these people sitting up here. They're being descendants of slave owners. I think people need to take this information, take it to your state. Well, if you got a governor that's on this list, your senator, your congressperson on this list, use that to question them. Use that to come at them about why they haven't done nothing for black people. Because are you just a slave master in your mind? That's why you can't stand black folks and won't do nothing for black folks. You please use this information to approach them, because trust me, you start approaching them with this, it'd be very interesting in response.